Welcome to Walking with Jesus Bible Study. Made it back on top of this mountain again. Where's the same mountain, other side, I guess. Should call it the lane of the Christmas trees. I don't know. These look like very soft Christmas trees. They ain't so spiky and needles ain't so pointy. Pretty cool. If I was to pick a Christmas tree, that would be kind of like one I would pick. Like the pine needles ain't everywhere falling off. Anyway, we're going to be in the book of Philippians, chapter 4, verse 8. Finally, brethren, whosoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. I'm going to repeat that. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. We need to keep our minds focused on the things of God. Anything that encourages us to be loving, peaceful, just, patient, and pure is of God. When we focus on these things instead of the discouraging messages the word produces, we will produce them in our actions during our daily lives. Kind of like when we focus on the positive versus the negative. If you're constantly being negativity, you're going to be surrounded in negativity. If you keep putting out negativity, you're only going to keep getting back negativity. Same thing, if you focus on the positive, you're going to receive positive. You put out positive, you're going to gain positive. Whatever you put out into the world will definitely come back into you. Everything in this world is a circle. The beginning and ending of life. Everything circulates into it, circles and fades out. Most scientists will even use that explanation. When they put the drawing there, they'll draw a circle. And the circle just keeps going and going and going and going and going and going until it swirls itself out. Everything has a beginning and everything has an end. Like a lot of people want to say, oh, karma. They don't realize that karma is God. And a lot of people who don't believe in God will believe in karma. But they fail to realize that is God. There's no lady out there named Karma. Karma's name is God. He says, vengeance is mine. So we need to remember when it comes to things that are eating at us, or when people do us wrong, or do us unjustly, that's why we're supposed to give it to God. Don't dwell on that anger. Don't dwell on that self-pity. Don't dwell on that sorrow. Give it up to God so we can then continue on and stay on the focus. Because when we're doing that, we're staying in that spot. God doesn't want us to be there. That's why he says, give it to him. That way you can brush it off, focus back on the positive, so that way you can then receive positive. But a lot of people can't seem to do that. They're dwelling on it, stay put on it, and therefore they keep receiving what they're staying very well, what they're putting it, they're just being stuck in. Comes your way, circle it right on back. It's like when you're playing that, I don't know what it's not I don't know what kind of game it would be, but almost like a handball where people stand in a circle and you toss one to the other person, the person chooses to toss it, and as soon as it gets to you, you got to keep it going without dropping it, right? Well, as soon as it gets past you, pass that on to throw it back out. Throw it back to Jesus. Let it bounce off of you. I know it sounds stupid, but, you know, I'm rubber, you glue, bounce off me and sticks to you kind of thing. Let it bounce off of you. Don't dwell on it. Give it to God. Focus on the good things. Try to see the bright side of things. I mean, it's very hard to find the good in a lot of things that come our way and that happen to us. So I can understand that that's how it's very hard and how that can be very much misleading. But that's why we're supposed to give it to God. Do what you can, for whatever you can on whatever you're going through for that day. And then you just got to remind and tell yourself, well, I did what I could for today. I can do nothing else. Nothing else is in my hands. So therefore, I'm not going to think about it, dwell on it until tomorrow. Let me go ahead and focus on this. Something else. Oh, I can't. Look at your kids, you know, go watch something that's your favorite. Get into your favorite book. I know sometimes it's very hard when you're sad and all kinds of emotional to find joy in things. But if we begin to make that a habit, you'll find it's a lot more easier to learn to shake things off. You got to remember, it's just a hurdle that you got to jump. And don't don't stop before you get to the hurdle. Because now you're just going to have to wait to get your energy back up to get up over the hurdle. Jump over it. Because another one's coming. Because that's just life. You got to remember, don't take it so personally, even though it's your personal business. But don't take it personally in the aspect because that's just life. There's always going to be something else. There's always going to be, whether it's going to come immediately, years later, months later. But there's always going to be something else. It's how you take those hurdles. Or if they're going to keep stacking up on you and you're going to be dwelled upon it. And they're going to overpower you. And next thing you know, you're running with hurdles stuck to this leg. Because, you know, you didn't jump over it correctly. So it stuck to your leg and you're trying to reach the other hurdle. And you're dragging the last hurdle with you. You've got to overcome that hurdle. So your then feet is clear to go over the next hurdle. You don't want to be stuck. You don't want to stop your momentum either. Because then you're just sitting there standing there and facing that hurdle. You're no longer running. You're no longer ready to prepare to leap over it with ease. It's a lot easier to go over that hurdle when you're already running than to stop and then try to jump straight up over it. So make sure to give it to God. Don't dwell on things. Look at the other side. Find something to help you do that. If, you know, besides just giving it to God, find something, you know, to help distract your mind for the rest of that day. Because there really is nothing that you can do for the rest of that day. If you done did all that you could possibly do that day for whatever that you're going through, then there's really nothing else you could do. It really is out of your hands. So all you're doing is adding more stress. All you're doing is adding on top of it. Now you're just sticking your feet in mud. Now you're putting your feet in concrete, making it heavier, harder for you to jump the next hurdle. Or even to jump the one that that's facing you. Don't make it harder on yourself. Positivity, man. And sometimes it's hard to do, but it's the best way. It's the best cure, the best answer. We're going to go ahead and get on to prayer before I start running out of time. Dear God, there are so many messages that fly around in this world, and many of them aren't very encouraging. Lord, I thank you that I can focus on you and everything about you. Let me remember to focus, not only to give what I have up to you, my sorrows, my stress, but to remember to stay focused on the positivity. Let me focus on the good things that's going around in my life. Because that's what keeps me sane and at rest. May my actions always be of you. And let me to remember, what would Jesus do? He would give it to God. In Jesus'